Bang! Neeves Knives. I'm Jared, and this is the Shieldon Tranchodon review. Now, I have 4 different models from Shieldon Knives. You can find these on White Mountain Knives, and this one happens to be my favorite one of the 4. Now, the Damascus, this is real Damascus. This is, I think, 67 layer 9CR. So the core is going to be 9CR. And you can actually see, when you look at the spine, you can actually see the core right there. And then, I don't know if the camera will pick it up really good, but you can see the other layers. Now, that's most likely a stainless steel Damascus or stainless steel layers, you know, other steels that work well with the 9CR. And 9CR seems to be a good steel to do Damascus out of. Civivi's using it, and the Civivi's is a powdered version. I haven't been able to find out if this is a powdered version. I would love to hear that it is, because that would mean it's similar to like Damasteel, and it kind of feels like it, but I can't confirm that. However, it seems to be getting good edge retention. We'll get more into that in a second. The handle material, beautiful mixed carbon fiber and G10, and you can see the layering. It looks really nice. It is very, very attractive, and it has like a dimpling effect on the top sides and on the bottom, kind of like a reptile or something, and it is very comfortable in the hand. I do like this material quite a bit. One, it looks really good, and it does feel good in the hand. We'll get into the action, and then we'll talk about the ergos and the cutting. So the action on this one, this has a very strong detent, and I'm very happy about that. Nice large flipper tab to give you good maximum leverage with the flip, and it cracks out there. I mean, it's definitely kicks pretty hard on my version at the very least, and you can hear the detent when it closes. Nice snappy detent on the close, and it is locked in there really good. No detent lash or anything like that. The break from the detent is just really, really nice. Very, very nice. Now you do have the fuller that you can reverse flick off of. Now, in my opinion, that's my fault. This exact version has the perfect detent for this knife, meaning I can reverse flick it. Now, as I'm messing it up, right? I can reverse flick it fairly easily, while still being able to get a good flip. I mean, this one's, it's hard to fail. So, and then I can thumb flick it. The thumb flick's not going to be as easy, especially when you're wearing a Band-Aid, but it's very, very, you know, you can do it. And like I said, the fuller does work as well. I do wish the fuller was slightly sharper, but it is pretty deep. I mean, it's not horrible, if you guys can see that, but it does work, and I can get a reverse flick anytime I want to. If it was just a little bit sharper, not as polished, because this coating is kind of polished, so it does make it a little slicker. Now, going back to the action, we have a liner lock that is very easy to get to. The detent, relatively early. I mean, I can make it to where it gets past it every time. The ball bearing pivot is very smooth. So if I influence it all, it will just drop shut. But it is not fall shut action, but it's very, very smooth. I like the action. Nice and centered. And the overall build of the knife does feel very solid. I mean, no play, any direction. I mean, it does feel very, very solid. My lock bar strength is nice and strong, which does make me feel like it's got a reliable lockup. The ergos on it are very, very nice in the hand. I do feel the clip a little bit right there, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. But getting leverage into cuts, I can get a massive, massive amount of leverage into my cuts because of the size. It does have the contouring, which also helps with the squeeze of your hand. So push cutting, I can really crank down on push cuts, and slicing, I can get my thumb right up there. Very, very good slicing. Great leverage in the cuts. One, you're just very comfortable, and two, it has this nice tall flat grind. So the blade stock thickness is thick, but it's not crazy. It's not crazy thick. It's right there at that point where I think it's still in a good ballpark, especially or because it's so tall. Since it does have such a tall grind, so it does have the opportunity to get down to a nice slicey edge. I measured this particular one right around 18 thousandths behind the edge. So it does get down to a pretty slicey edge. Now, it is a flat grind. So, it'll probably be, after you lay back the angle and all of that, probably 19 thousandths, possibly 20, just depending on how much steel you remove. But very, very good for what you have here. Now, the tip on it is nice and fine. It's not going to be a tip you're going to want to pry with or anything like that, but it's going to work great for utility cuts. One, we have a beautiful blade shape, beautiful sheep's foot blade shape. And when I'm holding it, I can get my pointer finger right here into this nestle, or right here into this spot. And I can get good, good pressure down into my utility cuts. And it's pretty easy to wield. So to use the tip, so it's going to be a nice utility cutter, nice for draw cuts, and it's just going to work really good for stuff like that. And being the size it is and everything, you're going to get a lot of leverage pulling back through your cuts. Now, the plunge grind here is okay. I like bigger and deeper plunge grinds, but this still isn't bad. They did stop the plunge grind back here a little bit, so they did give you a little room to sharpen. Not a ton, but they did give you a little bit. The hardware is T8 pivot, T6 body screws, and clip screw. But we do have a double-sided pivot, T8s both sides, and then a nice generous stop pin. I do like that they put, because this being, more, not a crazy robust knife, but more of a robust knife, that it deserves a good size stop pin, and they did do that. The liners are nice and thick steel liners. Very, very appropriate for the kind of knife this is going to be. They're not dainty. They're not overly thin. They are very, very nice. And you can see the carbon fiber, the cross-cut section on the sides here, that does look really, really nice. And I do like the finishing work that they did on the liners. And you can see in some parts, or here on the front, how it protrudes a little bit out of the bottom. On the other side, we'll look. You see how the liners do protrude a little bit, and they do give you a little bit of jimping down here. So you have a little bit of texture there, and then up here on the spine. And then also on the lock bar. Now, the clip and carry. So it is, it's got a little weight to it, but you can expect that. So this is not too heavy of a knife for me. It is not obnoxious or anything like that. It's just a large knife. Now, the clip does have a pretty significant ramp right here. It does work good in and out of the pocket. There's no problems with the way it works. It gives you something to hang on to pull in and out of the pocket. So no problems with the way it works or the use of the clip. And technically in the hand, I do feel it more so right here than right here. It's not a hot spot. But, when I'm using it and, I'm in certain grips, I do tend to feel this little area right there. Now, really quick on the steel. I just used it. I did not sharpen it yet. I did hone it a little bit. I maintained it a little bit. And it seems like it's okay. I mean, it's been holding its edge pretty good. It did strop back pretty good. Now, the next one that I review, I'm going to test it a little bit harder, meaning I'm going to sharpen it and everything else. But just from my experience with this one, I would say They're saying they're running it like 60 to 62 HRC. Probably not. It's probably more like 58, something like that. But I do believe that it's 9CR Damascus. Seems like it's holding an edge pretty good. You know, but like I said, I haven't sharpened it yet, so we will really see after that. But you know, all in all, though, you know, I don't have no reason to doubt that it's not real 9CR Damascus or anything like that. And it does look really attractive. It looks really good. You can barely feel it. It feels like a Damas steel. It really does. Like it almost feels like just one block. I can barely feel the lines in this, if at all. I mean, it's just so subtle. But yeah. You know, I've just basically used it and taken the edge retention from the factory edge, which doesn't say a lot because most factory edges are not going to last as long as if I sharpened it, but you know, it has been holding up pretty good. Now, let's getting into some negative things. We'll first start with the clip. I do think the clip is out of place. I think it should have been centered. I don't think we need a lanyard hold. This is way too big of a knife for a lanyard. I don't know anybody personally who would put a lanyard on this. And I think the overwhelming majority of lanyard people would be okay with not having a lanyard on this. I think they would rather have the clip centered instead of off to the side. I don't like it when the companies put clips off to the side like this. Next thing, I think the clip is out of place. Just the type of clip it is. Beautiful looking knife. I mean, just a gorgeous knife. I wish they would have centered it, and I do wish they would have used a different clip. Not necessarily a deep carry clip, but I don't think a deep carry clip would have been bad because of the size of the knife it is. I think a deep carry clip would have been okay on this one, but I just think it kind of looks budget. That's the thing. It looks like a budget knife. Now, next thing, T6s. I don't like T6s. Just use T8s, especially for this tough of a build. Just use T8s. T8s would be way better. Next thing, the jimping right here. When you're flipping it, now I tend to just light switch it without an issue. So I just yank right down and I don't really hit it. But if you do push button it, you tend to land on that jimping and it's not the most comfortable. So is it that big of a deal? No. I mean, I don't really have a problem avoiding it, but and next thing, like I said, I wish this was not so polished on this ledge right here because it makes it where, you know, it's still easy to reverse flick. I don't really have too much of an issue, but if it wasn't polished, oh my goodness, this thing would be, it'd be so much better reverse flicking, even though it's still not bad. Plunge grind, I always want better plunge grinds. That's me. This one's okay. It's in the okay range, you know, but it could be better. That, you know, that's it. It's not that big of a deal. Next thing, the liner right here. I wish there was a chamfer on the edge. So you look how it's just squared off. It's kind of sharp. Now, I didn't really have too much of an issue with it, but if you're sitting here fidgeting with it, you start to notice. So it's not a big deal. You take it out, you cut, put it back in your pocket, not a big deal. But if you sit here and fidget with it, that's when you start noticing like, ooh, that's getting a little sharp. So it'd be nice if they just knocked off literally just the corner right here. Let me grab another knife. If they literally just knocked off just this little corner right here and just put a little chamfer right down the edge, I think that would benefit this knife quite a bit in the deployment area, or sorry, the closing area. Now, next thing, the price. It's not horrible. I just want to say that right now. The price is okay. But we're pushing an area of which you can get some really good knives. We're talking about right at $90-something. Okay, this is 9CR Damascus. I know when sometimes Damascus does cost a little bit more. I get that. I get that. But in this day and age in 2021, we can get S35VN. Now, if you really want Damascus, this is a really good Damascus to get. So I think that's awesome. But looking at some of the other price ranges of their knives, I think they're a little overpriced. I think they're asking a little bit too much, especially for a company that hasn't gotten a good reputation yet. So that's that. Next thing, their website, or actually first Locktight. And this, I guess, is not going to happen on the next batch. So the first batch of knives were red Loctited or glued or whatever. You can't take them apart. You're going to strip the screws before you get it apart. Most people will have a very big issue with that. Now, there are some people that don't really care about taking apart their knives, and they'll just wait till the day that it's broken in so much that it will open up, or that you can just use a heat gun, or, use some type of heat and, put it to the screw and get it to melt, I guess, and then take it apart. You can't always do that, but it's better to just use blue Loctite. That way we can always have the ability to maintain our knives. What if I drop it in the sand? What if something happens and I get dirt down in my pivot? Now, yes, it's bearings. You can just rinse it out under a sink and blow it out or whatever. But it's nice to know you can maintain it if you need to. They said the next batch will not have that issue, that they will make sure that they use medium hold Loctite from now on. But as of right now, the knives that are out from the first batch do have that issue. Next thing, their website. So now this is a big deal to a lot of people. A lot of the things that we've talked about so far, some people can overlook. They can literally say, I can deal with that. I can deal with that. But there's a moral issue with some people. Now, their website has clones. That is going to be a significant problem for a lot of people. I've already had, I couldn't tell you how many comments saying, I was going to buy one. Then I seen clones on their website. I'll never mess with them, right? And I think if they separated like this new line that they're trying to do, some nice knives versus what they used to do, and get away from that type of stuff, get away from selling clones. I don't know if they make them or if they're just selling them on their website. I have no idea. But I do know that, if you're going to get into selling better quality knives with better quality steel, with better quality fit and finish of your own designs, then you need to separate that from clones, because a lot of the guys in the community, they know these guys. They know the people that are designing the knives that you have on your site that you're stealing from, and it will kill your reputation and any chance of selling a knife. Now, yeah, you have the ability to for the knives to be sold on Knife Center or White Mountain Knives or Blade HQ or something like that, but the people that wind up looking at your website that do see that, they won't even buy it from there. So it'd be really smart from a company aspect to get away from that. We don't like to influence bad behavior, and we don't, obviously we want to influence good behavior. So, I could see if you just separate yourself from that and don't, stop selling those or separate the websites or whatever. I don't know. Then I think that people could look at it possibly a little bit better. Not saying to hide it. I'm not saying that. But people don't like to endorse, companies stealing. Because here in America, we can't do that. We don't do that. That's not okay. So for another country to have that and be able to do that to the people from our country, it's theft to us. It's theft. So we don't like that. So that is one negative thing. Now, these new designs, I do think they are pretty good. I think they are well made. Now, like I said, this one is my favorite one out of the bunch, out of the 4 that I've tried. Yeah, I'd like to try more. But so far, this one is my favorite one out of them. And I think it's a good quality knife. I think the company has a lot of potential. And especially if they listen. That's the biggest thing. Listen to the community. Especially with people trying to give you good advice. Like I'm trying to do. There's going to be knife reviewers that will just review it as such and, you know, just tell you what you want to hear. But when you hear the people that actually have not complaints, but advice on how to make it better and how to make it where it feels and looks even more quality than it already is, because there are little details, you know, it's all in the fine details. The little fine details is what can make or break a knife. It's what can make a knife a good quality knife versus a not so good quality knife. Now this is a good quality knife, but the little fine details can bump it up a little bit more. Even though, you know, like, I like it. I like this knife. I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying that this is a bad knife in any way. I'm just saying, like, the little things, you know, move the clip a little bit, you know, possibly a little chamfer here, you know, just little tiny details like that I think would help a little bit. And then the other knives, as I review them, I have some things to say about them. But all in all, solid knife, man. This thing feels super duper solid. That is one thing I've noticed about this thing the whole time, is that just how solid it feels. You know, the detent is very solid, the action's very solid. Yeah, very, very solid knife. There you guys go. I love you guys. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.